you can't tell me not to believe my lying eyes. Like, I see this is happening, and I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to put up with it anymore. With these people dragged into court and tried for treason and appropriately thrown in prison. I just want rule of law brought back. I would like to read some passages from the bear market of 2015, 2016. People literally thought Bitcoin was going to die. We're off the all-time highs of 123,000, down about 30%. But we 5x'd in 3 years. This is the most healthy consolidation.
Nobody lines up for Bitcoin when it's 90,000. They line up for it when it's at 200,000.
You hate it when the price is dumping, but you hate it even more when the price is pumping too. Because you're like, oh god, I don't have enough Bitcoin. I am incredibly bullish right now.
Greetings and salutations, my fellow plebs. My name is Walker, and this is the Bitcoin Podcast. Bitcoin continues to make new blocks every 10 minutes, and the value of one Bitcoin is still one Bitcoin. If you are listening to this right now, remember, you're still early. This episode is brought to you by Blockware. What if you could lower your tax bill and stack Bitcoin at the same time? Well, with Blockware, you can. New U.S. tax rules let miners write off 100% of their mining hardware in a single year. So earn Bitcoin daily while saving big come tax season. Get started at mining.blockwaresolutions.com/Titcoin. Use the code Titcoin to get $100 off your first miner when using the Blockware marketplace. This is not tax advice, so go speak to the team at Blockware to learn more. That's mining.blockwaresolutions.com/Titcoin. Head to the show notes for links to find the show on centralized social media platforms and on Nostr, or just go directly to bitcoinpodcast.net. You'll find it all there. And kind reminder that you can support this show by becoming a paid subscriber on Fountain. Or don't, Bitcoin doesn't care, but I sure do appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get into this Bitcoin talk. Nostr is fantastic. Zap.stream works great. Some of been playing around with the primal streaming one too for a while now, and that's working great, but sometimes it doesn't. And so I like to have a backup, I like to have an alternate option. And the cool thing about Zap.stream is you can just raid your own stream. So that works pretty well.
It's incredible how these have progressed. I'm seeing it now though. I'm gonna send a message.
Oh, boom.
In Nostr. Is it Nostr or Nostr? I think that's
I say Nostr. I actually don't know what do you say?
Oh, well, I went to an all boys Catholic high school where we were forced to learn Latin, and the Our Fathers is in my head, Pater Noster, Domini Caeli. So I say Nostr.
Okay. Okay. I'm not going to hold it against you. You're like, it's the same. Do you say hodl or hodl?
I'm a hodl guy.
Okay, so you have a history of mispronouncing things. That's fine. This makes a lot more sense then. just wanted to be clear what I was dealing with here. That's usually how I like to check that. But no, again, that's the beauty of open protocols, right? Is you're free to mispronounce them if you want to. Mm-hmm. Like it's really anyone's game. All right, let's see. I'm gonna blast this out on old centralized social media as well, just because I like to think that maybe, and I have had some evidence of this from people telling me, but that streaming only on Nostr does bring at least a couple people over occasionally that would not have checked out Nostr otherwise. Well, so it's like, I'm doing my part in some small way.
You post. I would take the other side of this. We do this on RHR,
okay,
where we live stream on X.
I wasn't trying to dig at RHR, by the way.
X YouTube and Nostr, but we belittle the people on X and YouTube and in those chats. And we haven't been good with it recently, but we used to ignore the YouTube and X chats and be like, if you want us to respond, hop in the Nostr chat. And I think that's a good conversion tactic too.
I do actually like that. I like that strategy. I was watching the RHR from yesterday, and you guys were specifically like calling out the Nostr chat to like hop in there. But I go back and forth on this because I never wanted this show to be like a live stream show. It's like it's a different vibe to do live stream. I wanted it to be a podcast, a real Bitcoin podcast. And so the live stream was never part of the plan. But then like Nostr enabled live streaming with Zap.stream. Shout out to Kieran. And I thought, well, why not? Why not like mess around with this, add a little bit of a different dimension to it? But yeah, I don't know. Has RHR always been a live stream too? I know you guys were saying yesterday you're at like 7.3 years of RHR, like 375 episodes, something wild like that. That's insane, by the way.
It's crazy to think. I'm tired, boss. No, I'm kidding. I am invigorated by Rabbit Hole Recap week in and week out. And no, it wasn't always a live stream for the longest time. For the first 3 years, it's crazy to think we've done now to think. I say for the longest time, but literally for most of RHR's history now, it has been a live stream. But for the first 3 years, Matt and I would just meet in my apartment, and it was audio only, no video. And then COVID hit, and we decided we had to do remotes, and so we were on a video call anyway, and we said, why not just record the video, post it, and then ultimately got to the point where it was like, all right, let's just go live too. And so we started doing that during the COVID era. So it started out audio only, Matt and I in our apartment looking disheveled because we didn't care what we looked like, often drinking whiskey, shooting the shit into handheld mics, and then COVID hit, and that's when we went video and then live stream.
The rest, as they say, is history. It's a wild streak, though. Like that is commitment right there. That is true proof of work. That's honestly like insane.
And all the credit goes to our wives who have put up with this week in and week out, year in and year out, because I know they both. I think they're having a good relationship with both of them. They know, like, okay, when you're recording RHR this week, and as long as we give them a day's notice, I think they're fine.
They're accepting of it.
Yes.
And, I mean, it's, shout out to the wives out there that put up with the Bitcoin podcasters. Really, none of this is possible without wives that are cool with it. I think that there's an enjoyment on their side from being, well, one, like, they don't have to talk to you about Bitcoin quite as much, right? You get some of it out of your system. Not that they don't like to talk about Bitcoin, but perhaps they don't like to talk about it quite as much. I don't want to speak for yours or Odell's wife. Maybe they like talking about it more than you guys. I don't know.
My wife cannot care less as long as the numbers going up over a longer period of time. She's happy, but she's the wife where she's we're in different conversations at a party, and she'll glance over like, "Is he talking about Bitcoin?" And she's a proud. She's proud.
Yeah. So Carla does this thing where she'll like. And we go to less parties now that we have a little one, now he's starting to get a little bit older, so we're going to more again, like with him in tow, because he likes a nice fiesta. But she's the one like just don't bring up Bitcoin first, just like please just don't be the first one to bring it up. And then like 5 minutes in, she's somehow brought it up, and I'm like, well, what are you doing? Like this is exactly what you told me not to do. It's like couple glasses of Sauvignon Blanc, and she's like, and that's why the Fed is a cabal of central bankers. And I'm like, that's my gal. That's my gal right there.
I'm pretty sure they're lizards in skin suits too. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
That's 3 glasses.
You seen the movie They Live? It's basic. That's a documentary. It's a documentary essentially. Oh man. Well, shout out to the few people who have already joined us on Nostr. I always appreciate that. Like it's to me because I've done a few live streams as well. I've started doing like a weekly one with Roxham that like it's the kind of new network that McShane and Nolan are working on. And then I've done a couple just like very late night, random, impromptu, emergency broadcasts, quote, quote. And there's something about the Nostr chat that is just more satisfying. Perhaps it's the fact that you're like, pun intended, like you're receiving sats. So like, of course it's more satisfying, right? But the vibes have consistently been wonderful on Nostr, I will say, despite all the weird vibes on X. Like, have you noticed that? Like the vibes divergence has gotten greater and greater, like up until this point, or is that just me noticing that?
No, it's very palpable, tangible, noticeable, if you will. And that's another part of the reason why when we live stream to all these platforms is like we like to focus on the Nostr live chat because it's higher quality, and we have our ride or dies are in there. So we have people that have been listening to the show for 8 years, and we've developed at RHR this sort of like little community. So it's like they're not only talking to us, they're talking to each other. And over the years, they've known to transition to the Nostr live chat. And I think comparing it to like podcasting 2.0, which is wonderful, it's been great. And we see this with streamer culture outside of Bitcoin. Like the zaps flow much heavier in the live chat than they do in the post recording released in that medium, because I think people feel more social pressure to interact, and you're more likely to call out somebody like JP who just zapped us 21 sats. Zap.
Thank you, JP. Thank you for the zap. That is very kind of you. No, it's true. I mean, streamer culture to me is really fascinating because this was not something that was really on. I mean, it was on my radar in the sense that like I knew that it existed, but didn't know the extent of which people like some of these these Twitch streamers. It's mind blowing. Like just the audiences these people pull consistently, like just kind of just like chilling, you know. And I wonder if so much of that it just goes back to like maybe there's kind of the darker side where it's like people are just like a lot lonelier now, you know, to a certain extent. Like I'm not saying that's the case for all of it, but like for a lot of it, like that rise of streamer culture, I feel like it like I don't know if it would be where it is today without COVID. You know what I mean? Because people got so isolated during that period. And then like this was like a one outlet where you could feel like somebody else was, you know, was in the house with you, especially if you were like living alone, you weren't married or whatever, or didn't have roommates. Like I think it was a hugely therapeutic thing. Like, and like very much like a net positive, I think overall, like even with all the communist streamers out there, like still hopefully they're, you know, a net positive. I don't know.
Yeah. Cause it really, post-COVID, I think the streaming phenomena pre-COVID was predominantly sort of monopolized by gamers, gaming culture specifically, and maybe some political commentary as well. But post-COVID, it's like everything. But that's like one thing. Like I look at like Aiden Ross, and not that I watch his stream or anything like that, but like people of that type, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't, to your point, believe people sit here and just watch this guy just sit in his room for hours on end. And it's something that blows my mind because it's like and the other thing is the lifestyle that streamer, that class of streamer lives is just completely hedonistic in my mind. I'm like,
yeah.
And there's some sort of aspect of the audience living vicariously through these people, which is an interesting social phenomena as well. At least from my observation, that's the way I read it.
No, I feel that. I think that generally we're at this period where it has very, I think late stage Empire vibes gets overused. You know what I mean? Because I don't think that quite captures it, but it's more like you've got all the hallmarks of like a Weimar type situation where, you know, everybody's a gambler, everybody's engaging in like highly hedonistic behavior. There's just, you know, general debauchery because it's like, well, we may as well just live for today. And all of that comes back to the fact that like a lot of people just don't have that much hope. And so it's like you're either living yourself or living vicariously in whatever way that like actually makes you feel alive or like you're part of this present moment in time without actually having that much thought for the future. And I think that's one of the, I was doing a little podception a couple of days ago. I was on Cedric Youngelman's show, Bitcoin Matrix. He was asking me like, what do you think the biggest difference between like a Bitcoin family and a fiat family is? We had done Carl and I, and George McHale and Kay the Russian and a couple others had done a panel at Bitcoin Vegas about this general idea. And I essentially said, I think it comes down to time preference. I think it comes down to how do you think about how you as the father or you as the mother are spending your time, what's most important to you, but you're looking far into the future in terms of how you're spending that time. Like it's not just this instant gratification. It's become much more of a zoomed out, low time preference behavior. And like, I don't know what your thoughts on that are. I know I just ordered that book you posted about, the book about legacy. I
got it right next to me.
Nice. Yeah. Well, you were glowing about this book. And so I was like, okay, this is one I should order. I literally just ordered it this morning. Like, how do you think about that? Like, would you agree with that characterization of, granted it's a bit simplistic with fiat family versus Bitcoiner family, but like just generally, do you think that a lot of it does come down to time preference and like kind of purposefulness in that regard?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think, I'm happy you said that at the end there, because I don't think there's a clear demarcation between like Bitcoin and fiat family, because I see it in my immediate network, and most people in my immediate network are not Bitcoiners, but I came from a strong Irish Catholic family, and we're still strong to this day. And I think it comes back to, it does have to deal with low time preference, but it is really anchored in this idea of family, specifically nuclear family, most importantly, and then extended family. Beyond that, and time preference is sort of just embedded to the nature of those family dynamics if you care about them. Because I'm a nuclear family, my wife, our 3 boys. It's like, okay, I want to make sure they're upstanding, they're polite, they are ambitious, and aren't afraid to take risk. And then we get together at my extended family, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, my in-laws, with brother and sister-in-law, mother and father-in-law, and together we're collectively trying to instill these values within our children. Most importantly, like, hey, family is important. You got to spend time with them. So I think it's not explicit in the sense of like, hey, this is a long-term project, but
Right.
I think it's implied like, hey, family's important, family's forever, and you've got to focus on this. And so I think in our modern times, particularly with the hollowing out of the manufacturing base and the digitization of the world, and east of which you can move. Like, I got up and left Philadelphia when I was 17 and just moved back 16 years later. It makes anchoring in family values much harder, particularly extended family values. And I think that's a product. I mean, the hollowing out and the manufacturing base sort of forced people in certain localities to move to big metropolitan cities to get tech or finance jobs so that they can actually try to make money to escape and climb the economic ladder. And so I think that had a corrosive force to family values, because you're physically forced to uproot yourself and move away from your family. But that's what I think it comes back to, is really having a focus on family and being intent on wanting to foster a strong family.
What if you could lower your tax bill and stack Bitcoin at the same time? Well, by mining Bitcoin with Blockware, you can. New tax guidelines from the Big Beautiful Bill allow American miners to write off 100% of the cost of their mining hardware in a single tax year. That is right, a 100% write-off. So if you have $100,000 in capital gains or income, you can purchase $100,000 worth of miners and offset it entirely. Blockware's mining as a service enables you to start mining right now without lifting a finger. Blockware handles everything from securing the miners to sourcing low-cost power to configuring the mining pool. They do it all. You get to stack Bitcoin at a discount every single day, while also saving big come tax season. Get started today by going to mining.blockwaresolutions.com/Titcoin. Again, that's mining.blockwaresolutions.com/Titcoin. Use the code Titcoin to get $100 off your first miner when using the Blockware marketplace. Of course, none of this is tax advice from me. Go speak with the team at Blockware to learn more. One more time, that is mining.blockwaresolutions.com/Titcoin. Wish you could access cash without selling your Bitcoin? Ledden makes that possible. The global leader in Bitcoin-backed lending, Ledden has issued over $10 billion in loans since 2018 and has a perfect record of protecting client assets. Why is a Ledden loan different? Well, with custodied loans, collateral is not lent out to generate interest. No credit checks, no monthly payments. Apply in minutes and repay whenever you want, with zero penalties. And proof of reserves reports verified by a top accounting firm are published every 6 months. Ledden gives Bitcoin holders a secure, transparent way to unlock liquidity without selling. Learn more at ledden.io/Walker. That's LEDN.io/Walker. Hey everyone, quick word from my sponsor Blockstream. Right now through the end of 2025, they are running their biggest sale yet, 21% off every Blockstream Jade hardware wallet. No code needed. This is the lowest price you'll see all year on the most trusted Bitcoin-only hardware wallet on the planet. Bitcoiners will always tell you not your keys, not your coins, because they've seen exchange after exchange fail over the years and rug people of their funds. Having a hardware wallet means you never have to worry about that happening to you. Blockstream Jade is the simplest, most secure way to protect your Bitcoin, whether you're brand new or a hardcore stacker. Its sleek, low-profile design, full-color display, and dead simple setup lets you secure your sats in minutes. As your stack grows, Jade scales with you, air-gapped setup, fully functional QR mode with the built-in camera, native multi-sig support, and tons more advanced features. Head to store.blockstream.com right now. The 21% holiday discount is live now through December 31st, and you can use coupon code WALKER for an additional 10% off. Stock is limited at these prices, and once they're gone, they are gone. Secure your wealth today before the next leg up. Grab your Jade today at store.blockstream.com and rest easy like Satoshi intended. Now, back to the show. No, I think that's true. And I think it's such an important point that's often lost about just the geographical realities of like what that hollowing out of the manufacturing base did. Like, and it's one of those things where like, it's really sad because that's a very difficult thing to reverse. I think there's actually a lot more potential to reverse it now thanks to remote work. Granted, not everyone's a remote worker, but I think that's, again, one of the kind of silver linings of COVID is that it normalized much more remote work culture, right? And just the tooling around remote work got a lot better, obviously. Again, I think just a lot of it was making it just a very normal thing that people you had to do it. So of course it became very normal, not for everyone, but for a lot of people. Granted, if you work, if you work with your hands somewhere physical, you need to be there, right? But I think that it is a beneficial thing that people are now able to kind of work from wherever. But then that makes they still have to make the conscious decision to say, okay, I can work from wherever. Do I want to move back to where my family is clustered, like my closest family? Or do I want to, move somewhere that's, sunshiny and tropical and work from there? Do I want to do the digital nomad life? Like, I think that also depends like what stage in your life you're at. But like, for Carl and I, that was something that was super important. It was like, okay, we can, we're looking at living out in Vegas for a little while. And then we were kind of like, yeah, okay, Vegas is sweet. Not the strip side of things. Like we like the nature around it. I don't like the lack of trees or the lack of water, but like that can be forgiven. Anything's possible in Vegas. But then we just decided like, well, what are we doing? Like we're, got pregnant out in Vegas. And so then we were like, everything became very clear in a second. It was like, nope, we're going to be as close to family as we can possibly be. Cause like, that's ultimately like, it's what we want. We want the grandparents to be around. We want our sisters, to be around. Like it's important to us. And maybe it's not for everyone, but I think that that's how you kind of get back to like, that's part of the fabric of America is strong families and being able to build a legacy over generations. Like that's why we're all here today. And I think that's kind of somehow gotten demonized or lost a little bit, or made, that's a right-wing talking point. Having fit, stable families is clearly a far-right dog whistle, like I don't know. It's crazy that we've gotten to this place, Marty, where just healthy behaviors and habits are, and like taking care of people you care about before you take care of anyone else is viewed as like a far-right mentality. It's fucking insane, frankly.
It's literally how human civilization and modern civilization was built slowly but surely over time. But no, to your point, we wanted to move back to the Philly area where we're both originally from. After our first child was born, he was born right in the midst of COVID. And we planned on moving back. We actually left Brooklyn and lived at the Jersey Shore for what we thought was going to be 2 weeks to flatten the curve. It turned into 18 months, and we were pretty dead set on moving back to Philly. But at the time, the vaccine mandates and the passports were a pretty big thing, and for both of us, you're like, we're not going to thrust our young child into that environment. So we went to Texas and had our second child down there, and then she became pregnant with our third. And obviously things are in a much better spot than they were in 2021. And it was just, despite all the incredible things going on in our industry in Austin, but for me and with my TFTC hat on, and then even with the 1031 hat, like Austin is a great city to be in and incredible place to raise a family. But for us, that sort of familial draw, that gravity was inignorable. Like it couldn't be ignored, and we both agreed independently, like, okay, let's move home. It's time to be with our parents, brothers and sisters and cousins. And it's been incredible so far. It's made our lives much easier. My mother-in-law She lives around the corner. She'll come watch the baby. My mom, she'll be coming over tonight, sleeping over, watching the kids while we go to dinner. Makes it a lot easier.
With this one simple trick that's literally just been the norm for forever, your life gets so much easier. Like, and it's like the people that you want to have looking after your kids too, right? Like there's nothing wrong with, like babysitters or whatever else. Everybody has different situations, but like if you can, you'd rather have family members looking after your kids, like at any given time. Like those are the people you want them to spend the most time with. So it's like, it's quite a life hack, but it turns out it's like, it's just the way we've always done things. It's only recently, like there's this kind of like aberration a little bit in the last, 75 years or whatever, where that stopped, or 50 years, and you could probably trace a lot of it to fiat, I'm sure, and the fact that even just at the most basic level, both parents are working, so you're paying for somebody else to raise your child while you go out to be a tax slave and spend all the money that one of the parents is making to pay. Like I have friends who are, live in the city, and it's like they both work, and that's all good, but like they have to pay like basically college tuition for childcare. And it's like after taxes, like one of you is just like you're just breaking even there. Like what's the point?
Yeah.
Like, why not just have one stay home? Like, and then you're in a lower tax bracket also. Your net income is actually the same, and you spend more time with your kid. Like to me, this is just like a no-brainer, but it's just people have been conditioned, I think.
Well, not only is it a no-brainer, but I think it's a no-brainer to stay home. But the other side of that coin is if you have a two-income family, both parents are out, and you see in the videos like the moms who are like holding their baby for the last time before the maternity leave ends, and they're like crying, like have to go back to work. I don't want this to end. It's like it doesn't have to end. You have to make a hard decision. But then when it does end, they go back to work. Like that has sort of effects on the child-parent relation that matriculate throughout time, and then sort of exacerbate this whole family formation problem that we're describing right now. And so like I wouldn't be surprised if that practice, which became more popularized post 1971, has led to this fall in family formation, because the children of that era are basically saying like, my childhood wasn't that great. I don't have a great relationship with my parents, or at least not as good as I would hope it to be. And why would I try to continue that trend with a family of my own?
The older I get, the more grateful I am to my parents for homeschooling me. Like I was not always as grateful as I should have been at the time, but like that's such as youth, But the older I get, the more I'm like, wow. And I tell them this every time I think of it. I'm like, thank you guys so much for that. That meant a lot. And I think it made a huge difference. And like, I'm not a total freak, it turns out you can homeschool your kids, and they, all of the misinformation that's out there is just that. It's misinformation about like what the effects of homeschooling are. Like trust me, it is very possible to be a well-adjusted, functioning member of society, in the good way, not like in the sheep way. Can I ask, if it's not too personal, are you guys thinking of homeschooling, or are you looking at other options?
We are not. I think the idea of it for us is great, but the implementation, I think, is just not conducive for us personally. So we decide, we both grew up going to Catholic, so like faith is really important to us, and so
I would say that's a huge distinction from public school.
Yeah.
Also. Like when I'm contrasting homeschooling with public school, there's a very big difference there. Between a private, like faith-based school, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, and that's like, so I went to public school all the way up until high school, and then went to a Catholic all-guys school. My wife went to a Catholic all-girls school. She went to Catholic school her whole life. It's something we trust, believe in, and the school's right around the corner. It's Montessori based up until first grade. And so I went to Montessori school before grade school, and I think that has had long lasting impact on the way I approach the world and learning new things. And that's in the school, again, moving home to family. Some of the kids' cousins go to the school, family friends that we've known forever, like one of the one of the guys in her friend group who was really close with some of my cousins, like his daughters go there. And so we know the parents, we know the community. And it's a good education too at the end of the day.
I think that's huge. And I did some like, I actually went to public school during high school after being homeschooled until 8th grade, and was worried I was going to be really that I was going to be behind and be stupid. Like, you know, my parents are English majors. Like, what if they screw this up? But like, I ended up graduating number 1 in high school. It turns out I wasn't stupid. Turns out that the public school system, again, totally public, was not catering towards the highest achievers. It turns out, but
No.
did a lot of we did some Montessori like schooling earlier as well, and then co-founded a charter school with a group of other 8-10 other families, like because you can just do things like that unless you live in Germany where not being in public school is illegal since the Hitler era. But hey, I never get this about like Germany is such a strange beast to me because it's like you get rid of every last vestige of Hitler except for kind of this super fundamental thing, which is mandatory public schooling, which is also just like this neo-Prussian tradition that's been carried. Like, I don't know. Germany's a strange beast.
You're trying to get away from the Third Reich indoctrination, but you're keeping the
indoctrination,
the infrastructure that seeded the indoctrination in place. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Well, I could talk about family all day, and I think we may circle back to this, but I do want to dive into a couple other tangents with you, if you're game, because one of the reasons I like you, Marty, is I think you always have a very pragmatic approach to things. Like you are, you're very principled about the way that you look at things, and I like that because there's a lot of flim-flammery out there these days, and. There's a great episode you did. I forget if it was with Danny or if it was when Peter was still doing what Bitcoin did, but it was a white pill episode. And I want to kind of generally talk like today about like black pills and white pills that you see, let's say, or, put another way, bearish things that you're bearish on in society, things that you're bullish on in society. And I guess right now I'd be curious, like, what do you think is what's the biggest non-Bitcoin topic or theme that you're kind of tracking right now? Or maybe it's Bitcoin tangential, but like something outside of just like direct, Bitcoin exposure, let's say.
No, you're talking, you alluded to it before we hit record, but I think that's what's happening in America right now, politically, socially, economically. I think it's the most important thing going on right now because I think, if you ask me, I think we've been subjected to an attempted color revolution in this country for many decades now. And part of that has been the mass migration, mass immigration, illegal immigration under the Biden administration. So I think this whole Overton window shift that we're experiencing in terms of just the whole question, like what is America? What does it mean to be an American? What do we want this country to look like? What are the criteria by which we sort of determine who is and is not allowed in this country? It's obviously hyper polarized, hyper vitriolic, but I think it's critically important that we're having the conversation. So the black pill, I guess, on this theme is that we've gotten to this point, and for the longest time it was completely taboo to even approach these discussions. We're considered a racist, xenophobic bigot, to sort of highlight like, hey, maybe we shouldn't just be importing all these immigrants without some sort of test of whether or not they're going to naturalize or contribute to society. More importantly, the white pill is that the Overton window has shifted. Conversation is happening. Again, it's vitriolic and hyperpolarized, but I think to solve a problem, the cliche phrase is you need to know it exists in the first place. And so I think the problem has been sort of dragged out into the spotlight, and I think that's a good thing. And it is a hard conversation. It's not comfortable for a lot of people to approach, but I think it's critically important if we want to ensure that the United States and the West more broadly can actually continue to be this beacon of sort of liberal in the classical sense, ideals and principles.
No, I think that, I mean, talk about like Overton window shift. Like, I'm assuming you saw that last video that Trump, or was posted about Trump, where he's going off about the Somalis, right? Like, I mean, this was like, you could see it in his, it wasn't like the normal, it wasn't Trump, the Trump grandstanding. It wasn't Trump behind the podium. It was Trump just being like, I'm sick and fucking tired of this. Like, why are we not saying this out loud? Like, why, and that's the thing, Carla is an immigrant to the U.S. Took her 13 years to become a citizen. Her parents, her dad was a communist defector. Her mom came over with her after the fall. And so, I am surrounded constantly by immigrants to the United States who have been here for many, many decades, who have paid ungodly amounts in taxes, who have built multiple businesses, who very much, and I think anybody who is either an immigrant of this regard or knows immigrants like this will know that you talk to them and they're like, yeah, I think the current immigration policy is insane. Like, it's insane that it's so easy it was really hard for us to come over. And like, even, as a communist defector, like, you were like polygraphed for days on end to get into the country to make sure you weren't somehow working for the KGB, the Securitate. Like, it's just insane. I think this is going to be looked back on as this really like America lost its mind a little bit period, where it was just an open flood, especially across the southern border. But not only that, and it's not like everybody always comes back with this, like, well, immigrants built this country. It's like, correct, yes, but that doesn't mean that we should have stupid immigration policies. Like that's not like and all those immigrants assimilated. I think that's the piece that people really need to wrap their heads around, is that like, this isn't about whether you're an immigrant. It's about whether you assimilate and actually internalize American values and love America and are grateful for the opportunities that America has provided you to. We're both lucky enough to have been born here, right? And that is a huge bit of luck. Like, we, just happened to pop down into existence here in America. I'm so grateful that I did. But like, if you were born somewhere else and you want to come to America, that's fantastic. I can see why. America is amazing. It's the greatest country in the world. But you should treat it like that. I don't think that should be a controversial thing to say. Like that, but it's become one. And I think that's where like now the gloves are off a little bit, and I've just seen more and more sentiment that's like, no, like why are you acting like America is somehow this tyrannical place to live? Like, you came here for a reason. You should remember that. I don't know. It's crazy to me that we got this far, though, Marty. Like, I don't know. The pendulum feels like it's swinging back.
It definitely is. And we got this far because we were browbeaten into, again, these topics becoming taboo and unapproachable. And again, you're a xenophobic, racist bigot if you express these. But I think whatever you want to call it, the woke mind virus, sort of DEI mentality, sort of communist, Marxist indoctrination got to a point where it's like, you can't tell me not to believe my lying eyes. Like, I see this is happening, and I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to put up with it anymore. And I think the economic sort of pressures that have emerged in recent decades have sort of forced the issue. And again, to your point, like, and that's what makes this conversation so hard to have. And because it's incredibly unfortunate that it even needs to be had, because this was completely avoidable if you had sensible, or I think we did have sensible immigration laws. They just weren't being enforced, particularly under the Biden administration. A lot of people are browbeating and yelling at people, calling this out and saying, hey, I don't like this. I think it needs to change. And saying, oh, you're racist bigot. Like, you're creating this problem. You're rounding people up in nice vans and sending them off to El Salvador and making you seem like the bad guy. Well, it's like, well, I would prefer not to do this. And the reason we have to do this is because we had some crazy people in charge, particularly Joe Biden, but more specifically Alexander Mayorkas, and his ilk that really forced this issue. And you can't be mad at people for trying to fix the problem. And yes, the solutions may be a bit abrasive and aggressive, but it's not the fault of the people trying to fix the problem. It's the people who created it in the first place. And again, I think people need to, I know it's very hard, but try to approach this in an unemotional way and just look at the numbers. I mean, I think the fraud that has been laid bare in the last few weeks, particularly from the Somali community in Minnesota, is undeniable. Can you look at that and say this is okay? Like, these people deserve to be here. They're a net negative in terms of their overall contribution to the economy and the tax system. Like, they're a literal drain on it at a time when we're $38 trillion in debt. And so, like, you have the sort of law and order aspect of it, of, hey, we're in a country, we're paying taxes, and sort of the explicit contract with the agreement that we have with the state when we pay the taxes is like, hey, we're this union of states, you're the federal government, and we're going to pay you these taxes to enforce the rule of law. And that's not happening anymore. And so, like, when you get to that point, that's where things get really scary, because you can have this sort of cascade and into pure chaos if the rule of law isn't being enforced, if you have this anarcho-tyranny really take hold to a point where there's no turning back. So you have the rule of law aspect, then you have just the economic reality of it. Is like, we literally don't have the capacity to continue subsidizing these people who seem not only unwilling to contribute in a productive way. A lot of them aren't, not only not willing, but unfortunately not able to either. And then you just exacerbate the problem. It's like, not only are they not willing, and many of them not able, but they're actively just stealing from the system that everybody else is paying into. It's like, this cannot persist.
It's really like, this Minnesota thing is just insane, because I think it's so obviously bad. There's no way that a reasonable person can spin this. And I mean, I saw Ilhan Omar tried to be like, well, it's really just because these systems were not set up properly, and so that's but it's like, well, but people were the ones who en masse exploited these systems, right? Yeah, and it's a certain group of people that were doing so. Like, you can't try to say, like, okay, yeah, the programs were not good to begin with. That's not an excuse.
No,
right?
and it's like, if the programs weren't set up in the right way to begin with, you would think, if you were a conscious, morally driven individual, and you notice that, instead of exploiting it, you would maybe go like, hey, if you don't fix this, there's a way that people could drain funds from this. And if you don't have accountability, there's a way that they can get away with it for a while. That's what I would like. That's an upstanding American in my mind, as somebody who notices the potential for fraud, waste, and abuse, and calls it out and says, hey, we should fix this. Their first impulse isn't, hey, let's exploit this to the nth degree. And that's only the tip of the iceberg. I saw I saw a woman on TikTok talking about this similar situation happening in Columbus, Ohio, with another Somali. And I'm not trying to pick on Somalis here. It's obviously just the topic of the last couple of weeks with what's been unearthed in Minnesota specifically. But then I've seen man on the street interviews where in Minnesota, and these are from years ago, of reporters walking up to people on the street, Somali immigrants on the street, and asking them, like, if they would prefer to live in the United States or Somalia, and if they would prefer the rule of law in America or Sharia law. And I mean, obviously it's an edited video, but there is at least 5 or 6 people he interviewed that day said, I would rather live in Somalia and I'd rather live under Sharia law. And it's like, that Sharia law is not compatible with the United States and our rule of law, the First Amendment.
And why'd you come here then? Like,
yeah.
Then why didn't you just stay? It's wild.
I mean, and this goes back to the color revolution and the whole great replacement conspiracy theory, which was a conspiracy theory for the longest time, and now many people are becoming aware of the fact that the UN literally wrote a paper on this and distributed it over 3 decades ago, and it's like a documented sort of strategy by UN officials to sort of replace native populations and sort of just import the third world. And I forget where I was going with it, but it's not tenable. It can't sustain itself. I mean, it certainly can continue to happen, but if it does, it's not going to end well for anybody.
Yeah. I mean, another white pill out of this, besides the Overton window shifting to people being able to have these uncomfortable conversations and feeling empowered to do so, is that at least Tim Waltz is getting called a retard. You know, I mean, I saw that.
I think yesterday was a top 5 meme day on the internet with the Tim Waltz retard memes.
Oh my God. I mean, really, it's just like you love to see it. Like it's just him saying that they're driving by my house, they're yelling the R word, and it's like, okay, like, you know, I'm not for, you know, harassing people at their homes, like generally, like, you know, that's something that leftists typically do, right? So I'm not usually a big fan of it, but this is as far as a good little bit of, you know, clean fun. I mean, it's just pretty funny, and we should still be able to laugh at these things. Like,
it's hilarious. And to your point there, like that whole presser was complete projection. They're driving by my house calling me the R word. You know what that leads to? It starts with the R word. It leads with harm. It's like, dude, your whole, and I hate this because I hate to get seeped in sort of partisan politics, but it is objectively true, at least in my observation, is like the whole left, really driven by the radical left, has been calling Trump supporters Nazis and fascists for years. And in the last 12 months, that has manifested in physical harm. Multiple attempts on Trump's life. Obviously, Charlie Kirk was assassinated. We had ICE officers shot down in Dallas a couple months ago, whenever that was. And it's like, no, like, from my perspective, like, I'm obviously a more conservative leaning individual. Like, people driving by Tim Waltz's house calling him a retard, I think has way less of a chance of leading to physical harm of somebody like him on the left. What I truly believe, and what I personally would like to see as a conservative, is like, I don't want sort of vigilante justice against these people. I want these people dragged into court and tried for treason and appropriately thrown in prison. Like, that's like, I just want rule of law brought back. Like, I don't think the right should begin engaging in vigilante justice like Luigi Maggioni or what has happened to Charlie Kirk or the ICE officers or potentially President Trump. Fortunately not President Trump. But that's where I think there's a distinct difference, is this inability to recognize reality. Not only that, to actively like project sort of what you're doing on to the other, if you will. And from this perspective, the left projecting what they actually do on the right.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is just very kind of rich. But the reason that I think that they're able to project like that without any semblance of self-reflection is because they truly believe they have the moral superiority. And so anything that they do is justified because it is the moral, good, humane, you know, thing to do. It is the progressive thing to do. It is the, you know, the right thing to do. Anything that somebody else is any even actual violence, not, you know, words being violence, but actual violence being and murder against the other side. Well, that can be, you know, yes, that's bad. Of course, we'll say it's bad, but you know, they kind of had it coming because of how bigoted they were. Like, and like that, the justification loop that you see over and over again. It's like, it's you know, it's not great, but at least, you know, maybe they shouldn't have been saying those things. You know, it's like it's essentially like. It's a form of the argument, like, you know, a woman is assaulted, and it's like, well, what was she wearing? You know, and it's like, well, no, it's like the person who is guilty here is the person who did the assault, not the person who was assaulted. Like, geez, it's just like the mental gymnastics is truly astounding.
Yeah, I mean, we saw this BLM riots where, like, the worst case, like, stay home, stay 6 feet separated, quarantine for 2 weeks if you come into contact with anybody not in your immediate circle. And then, oh wait, just for this month of June, you can riot and set things on fire, but it's completely okay. It's insane, and it's this weird. You can tell too because there is like this layer of deception that is really insidious and nefarious. Like bring it back to Minnesota. Like you look at the mayor, he's like, "These are Americans," and like literally in the same press conference, 2 sentences later, he starts speaking in Somali, and it's like,
I saw that one. That was insane.
This is like you can't like you're obviously lying to our like it's like this whole again going back to the color revolution. I think that's part of the tactic. It's just like gaslight, and you're gaslighting in the front. In the back you're like waving everybody in, like, get in here, we're gonna fuck this place up. And again you see it with like Ilhan Omar, like she has gone to campaign rallies for her US representative seat and says that she's a representative of Somalia. Like, if you want to do that, like, okay, go do that in Somalia. It should not be controversial or bigoted to say, hey, that's cool and all, but this is America. You are a U.S. representative. You are supposed to represent the will and desires of the American people and your constituents, not some foreign nation that doesn't even have a government.
Amen to that. I mean, it's, again, as bad as all of some of this is, though, like, again, I am optimistic on this because the conversation is more open now and more honest, and people feel empowered to speak up. And then I look at places like, I look at Canada, I look at the UK, I look at different places in Europe where, like, you're very much not, you will get thrown in jail for speaking up, or even for, heaven forbid, posting a racist meme or retweeting a racist meme. Like this stuff is insane. Did you see the stuff that just came out today about the European Commission trying to pressure X into engaging in censorship and all? I mean, like this is like, God bless America, because at least we may have problems, but at least we can still speak about them freely without worrying about getting tossed in jail for wrongthink. Like I'm genuinely like, I'm trying to, we need like a bingo card of like which nation, which either is it Canada, the UK, or like one of the European nations that is just going to completely fall first because of this. Like it's insane. Like it's just destructive. It's a destructive ideology to think that you can't allow your people to speak freely about things that are genuinely harming them, that they're dissatisfied with. It's the rise of the AfD party in Germany is a great example of this. All the leftist pundits are like, I don't know what's making everybody go for this AfD party. And it's like, really? Like, you got no idea? You can't think of like one reason why? I don't know. Again, it's just like complete dislocation from reality, it seems.
Yeah. Well, to your point about us being fortunate to be able to do this here in the United States, I would take it a step further and say that it's critically important that we exercise this fortune and really speak out, because again, I think this is America has many flaws, many of which we're discussing right now, but I think this is literally the last bastion of free speech, freedom, free markets, and sort of advancing Western society in the world right now. And it is of critical importance that people like yourself, myself, others out there who recognize this and maybe have self-censored in the past because they're worried about the sort of social and political blowback that may come with it, to speak up, because there's also a short window here where if we don't get loud enough and take enough ground, that we could go the way of the UK, Germany, Canada. That's also a very the probability of that timeline is way higher than zero if people don't speak out and action isn't taken. And that's why I think, and it's with the Trump administration too, I think hopefully they're beginning to realize it, but there's been if you look at the polls, I had Mark Mitchell on TFTC from Rasmussen polling, who's been sort of tip of the spear of sort of trying to get the attention of the Trump administration. Like, hey, Gen Z, millennials are not happy. You're not going hard enough. Like, you really need to do something to solve these immigration issues, specifically H-1B issues. Particularly because you're not following through on the promises, and it doesn't look like midterms are going to turn out well for you. And if that's the case, midterms will turn out well, 2028 doesn't turn out well, and these democratic socialist take over, you're going to have, we could go the way of the UK and Canada and Germany quite easily by the end of this decade. And again, I hate to get into the partisan politics of it. It doesn't mean we shouldn't be vigilant of what the right is trying to do too. Like, you want to avoid the strongman fascist. So there is sort of a balancing act as you're trying to do all this. So my great hope would be is like, okay, you take action, you kick out all the illegal immigrants, obviously top of the list. And then it's going to be an even tougher conversation, but those who refuse to naturalize and would prefer Sharia law in the United States compared to the rule of law that this country was built on. And then you have the even harder conversation of, hey, we're 38 point whatever trillion dollars in debt. We need net producers coming into this country. If you're an immigrant, like, we need you to actually provide value and economic output. Like, you can't just be a freeloader on our welfare system. If that is my great hope, that would be my ideal scenario. And then once that's all figured out, it's like, okay, tighten the border, really focus on sort of this reindustrialization and build out of the United States for this continued transition into the digital age.
Well, it's something that's interesting. I was listening to, I love listening to Dave Smith's Part of the Problem with Dave and Robbie the Fire Bernstein. For anyone who doesn't check out that podcast, it's a great non-Bitcoin podcast, but like I would say Dave is a Bitcoiner. I mean, he's been at a lot of Bitcoin conferences. He's a super based guy, and again, just operates from a very principled perspective on pretty much everything. So I enjoy that a lot. And he was talking about, just this. He was talking about the Great Replacement quote conspiracy, which is now people are realizing is not such a conspiracy. It's like you can say that now. I'm pretty sure probably this will get a flag on YouTube because they'll see that the words Great Replacement were used in it. They'll put a flag at the bottom with a Wikipedia source showing Great Replacement conspiracy theory. Anytime I have Great Reset is said in a show, I don't know if you've noticed this too. If you say Great Reset, they'll probably put a flag up here now. It'll put a flag on YouTube that says the Great Reset is just, it's just a conspiracy theory. No. It's like, well, they got that. It's not, but okay, fine. But he was talking about immigration in the U.S. and how traditionally it's like we would have large waves of immigration and then a long period of very little immigration, which was a period of assimilation for the populations that had just come in large numbers. And like that assimilation was obviously, like, if you know American history, was not always pleasant. Basically, whether you were the Irish or the Italians or any group, it was not easy for you at first. You were not always treated great at first, but you contributed to society. You worked very hard, and you grew through generations here to become like a founding part of this country. And this idea that now it's like, no, we just need to have open borders all the time, and everybody has somehow a right to come to America, which is just like no, you don't. Like, nobody has a right to come to America. Just like I don't have a right to go to China. Like, good luck. You want to like overstay your visa in China and just see what happens. And while you're there at the whim of the Chinese government, feel free to tell them how much you hate China and how China should adopt American systems, and just see how that goes. In the paradise of China, just see how it goes. Like, it's not going to go the way you think it will. But I think, unfortunately, we've adopted this very overly permissive attitude about how people should view coming to America. And like, it's always been the place that people really had to strive to get to. Like, that attracted the best of the best and the biggest risk takers and the people who were a little bit crazy and who didn't like the nanny state that they grew up in, and wanted to live somewhere freer. And now we've gotten away from that a little bit. So I hope that we get back to that more, because we should be attracting the best and the brightest from around the world. We should be attracting the highest quality of people who want to come here that will actually make our country a better place for being in it, not a worse place. Like, and I don't think that is a race agnostic statement for anyone who is confused by that. That has nothing to do with race whatsoever. It has to do with the merit of people. And I think that that's what we need to get back to ultimately.
And again, like I said earlier, like, it would be great if we were in that position now. And it sucks that we sort of have to have this hard line, or I would like us to have this hard line. Like, we got to freeze everything, get the bad people out of here. Let's take some time off and get back on our feet here. Like, it would be ideal to have this scenario in which you just described, where we are bringing in the best and the brightest from around the world. But unfortunately, the actions of the people in charge over the last few decades have put us in a terrible shot where it's like, all right, we need to reset, sort of catch our breath, get our feet under us, and then, okay, maybe at some point, maybe a decade from now, we can begin to, like, okay, we're good. Let's start bringing the smartest and brightest in a regimented fashion. Like, I don't think there's any other way. I think it sucks. I think we have to rip the Band-Aid off and just do the uncomfortable things. And to your point too, I was illuminated this week. I think that's a great point you brought up. I was completely unaware. If you like overstay your visa in Singapore, China, Russia, any of these other countries, you get caned first, then you go to jail, and then in some of them you do forced labor, and then only after that do you get sent back to where you came from. Like, comparatively, the sort of solution that people are talking about here in the United States is more humane, if you will. And
well, right now it's like, we'll buy you a plane ticket home and we'll give you $1,000 stipend, and you have the option to come back here later legally. Like,
yeah.
That's as nice as you could. This is under, Trump's fascist, border police, right? And we're literally being like, yeah, we'll buy you a plane ticket home, we'll give you $1,000 and we will allow you to come back later, like through a legal means, and apply for that. Like, that is still quite generous of us. Like, that's more than most countries would possibly give you.
Yeah. And it's like, we're getting deep down this rabbit hole, but again, anchoring back to the first part of the discussion is like, why I feel, I mean, I tweeted out last night, this is what I voted for, a video of one of the drug cartel boats getting bombed. And I knew it was going to be spicy and there's going to be a lot of vitriol, but it's like, I thought it was like the perfect microcosm of like this whole problem. It's like, oh, we didn't declare war, and like, we can't just be bombing people indiscriminately, which I agree. Like, I'm not a war monger, but like, this is nuance. Like, we didn't declare war, but I think there's been a silent war declared on us with the smuggling in of fentanyl into our country that has killed hundreds of thousands of people over the last 5 years. And again, this is one of those things where the prior administrations allowed this to happen, to build up, and you have to take radical action to solve it. And I think a show of force to deter these narco terrorists from bringing these weapons of mass destruction, just in another form, into the country is like, again, it's not ideal. I wish it didn't get to this point, but radical problems call for radical solutions. And I think that's like a perfect microcosm of this problem that we've been put into. And I will stand by it. It is what I voted for. Like, there's something radical needs to happen. And again, it's unfortunate that it has to be bombing of these traffickers, but the message needs to be sent to try to deter this. And why do we do this? Like, for that specific action there, stopping the narco sort of movement of fentanyl into the United States. It's like, I have people in my life that have died from fentanyl. I have young children who are like, I'm fucking 10 miles away from the Frankfurt L, which is infamous. It's like the Skid Row of Philadelphia, and we've become very popular as a city for people being tranked out and on fentanyl under the Frankfurt L here in Philadelphia. Like, that is, I grew up the house I grew up in for the first 10 years of my life. I could ride my bike to the Frankfurt L in 5 minutes, and it wasn't the best area back then, but it's gotten progressively worse over the course of my life. And like, why do I have this view? It's like, I now have 3 young children. I'm looking at them like, what the hell, what kind of world are you going to grow up in? What are you going to be surrounded by? What are the opportunities that are going to exist for you when you get of an age where you have to leave the house and go do something? What's the world going to be like? And I want the United States to be in the state that it is now, where you're just letting in whoever, you're allowing narco terrorists to flood poison into the country. And again, it seems radical. It is radical, but it's only radical because you're trying to push back against a just as radical force that's moving in the other direction.
All right. It's like, I mean, radical solutions aren't needed unless the problem gets so bad for so long. You get to a point where there is no like a gradual solution to this, right? This isn't something that like you can just be like, okay, we'll just change some policies here. You know, like, I mean, like with regard to like the narco bombings, right? Like this is, I know that people have a lot of problems with this, but like, I think neither you nor I are certainly not the people to warmonger. And I don't think that's like putting that aside, it's like, man, what would you do to stop it? Like, what is your proposal for how to stop this? Because it is a weapon of mass destruction. It's actually like, it's such an insidious one too, because it kills people slowly and it destroys entire families. And it moves like a virus, right? This is essentially like, it's a form of a bioweapon, right? It's an addictive bioweapon that kills people slowly after it's infected entire communities. Like that is, there are a few things as destructive as that, you know, especially over the long run, over generations, that problem compounds. And I just don't see any reasonable proposals for how that should actually be fixed.
Yeah, go read up on the Opium Wars in China from over a century ago, and how long that set that country back, particularly. It wasn't the only factor, but it was a considerable factor in setting China back.
You look at like Singapore, people always hold this up as like this, you know, this amazing example of like, wow, look at how fast they were able to progress. You know why? Because they would hang anyone who was importing drugs. Like if you brought in more than I think 10 grams of heroin, they would hang you. Like public, like you would be executed for that. Like anything more than 10 grams, which like is, you know, I don't know how many people 10 grams gets high, but like I think that's a pretty like low bar. You know, it wasn't like you had to bring kilos and kilos in. It was like, no, you have anything more than 10 grams, you're getting hung. And otherwise the punishment was still extremely, extremely, vicious, even for less than that. But like, that's how you're able to develop an incredibly clean, incredibly prosperous society in a short amount of time. It's by making sure that your citizens aren't being poisoned and just letting it happen to them because, oh, well, we wouldn't want to offend anyone. You know, we'd hate to offend anyone here.
Like, I had some people in my mentions like they need to be tried in the court of law. It's like, brother, they're bringing the drugs in right now. Like I don't know, and it's been happening again. Radical reaction to a radical problem. But I don't know. I think the libertarian that exists out there is like, this is number one. Like drugs, like people should be able to do drugs if they want. Yeah. And then number two, like you can't just be indiscriminately bombing people. It's like, hey, if you see somebody bringing a poison, like literally en route to bring fentanyl that is killing the younger generations at very high rates comparatively, relatively, and you're just going to wait for them to get to the border. Maybe they get the drugs in and you find them somewhere on their escape back to Venezuela or Colombia, or wherever they're coming from, and then you take them to trial. Like, what is that actually going to solve? Like, it's not going to stop the drugs from getting to market.
Right. At that point, they're already here, right? You know, I'm glad we went down this rabbit hole quite deeply. I do want to get into a couple of other things too, because otherwise I'm going to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, and this will never be allowed on YouTube. No, I'm just kidding. Fuck YouTube anyway. That probably doesn't. You know, I say fuck YouTube a lot, and I think that's like maybe it's why I'm getting deboosted. Who can say? There's only one way to find out though. But I'm not going to stop saying it. So, you know, one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about was like where we're kind of at. Like bring it back to Bitcoin a little bit. The vibes are weird in Bitcoin right now. We've had this sideways, choppy year. Everybody seems super bearish right now. Like that we're going to enter this kind of protracted bear market, and you know this is just this is just the way it is now, and whatever. I don't know about you, Marty, but I am just like I'm very bullish right now.
Yeah,
I think some of the, especially on the medium of exchange side, some of the things that have been happening this year to me have been just like mind-blowingly cool. Like what Square has done, enabling this Bitcoin for 4 million plus merchants. also at Square, but like Cash App, the fact that they're using Lightning Rails for USD payments to Bitcoin, like so many incredible things happening. Not to mention all the stuff that's happening on the cashew side of things with eCash. Not to mention all the cool stuff happening on Nostr with white noise. Not to mention BitChat. Not like all of these other tangential things. Like I'm just really bullish on Bitcoin and also largely freedom tech right now. Are you in the same boat, or are you suffering from some bear-like syndrome?
No, I mean anybody who's worried out there. I wish I had it on me. I don't, but I would like to read some passages from the bear market of 2015, 2016. People literally thought Bitcoin was going to die back then. And if you compare it to today, I think perspective is incredibly important. Like 2015, 2016, people thought Bitcoin was going to die. Nobody was using it. Twitter was dead. Nobody was talking about it. Fast forward today, completely different dynamic. $1.75 trillion market cap, whatever it is. What is it? $1.78 trillion market cap. Just below $90,000 right now. Obviously, it's not $126,000, but we were at 16,000. Let's just go back to 3 years ago exactly. Which is today the 5th. We were at like $17,000 3 years ago to the date.
It's wild.
So we are up about 5x in 3 years. Yes, we're off the all-time highs of 123,000, down about 30%. But if you look, if we 5x'd in 3 years, and just pattern recognition, having been in Bitcoin for 12 years now, like this is the most healthy like consolidation. Yes, it may not look great on the chart, but if you put it on log, like it's imperceptible. And to your point, like the infrastructure in all areas has just been maturing massively this year. Obviously, Block, with everything they've done from Proto to Cash App really leaning back in, obviously Square, point of sale terminals, opening up Bitcoin to all their Square sellers and potentially their end users or their clients at the end of the day, customers. That's been massive. Like Arc launched, Spark is taking off, cashew mints, eCash mints, Fetty mints, cashew mints are exploding. And the innovation around them is picking up steam. And then if you are just using like sort of social indicators, like there hasn't been a retail fervor like there was in 2017, 2021, 2013. Like we're nowhere near those levels. So like I'm extremely bullish right now. I think we're just in this sort of cool off period after expanding the network by 5x in a very short amount of time. And the fact that we're trading right below $90,000 is extremely impressive to me. As somebody who's been around for 12 years, like if this sort of boring market were to manifest 10 years ago, the price would have crashed. It did crash 80%. So the fact that we're only down 30 is pretty massive. And then you just think of the fact that there is too much brand awareness of Bitcoin at this point from individuals, companies, institutions. I mean, you just have Vanguard open up the floodgates for their customers to ETFs, and then you have Bank of America's investment arm sort of recommending a 1% to 4% allocation, like, and then the cherry on top, which is actually probably the cherry in the course, that the governments have not solved their deficit problems, so they're going to have to print. I mean, I think the poly market odds last time I checked were like 91% for a Fed rate cut next week or the week after, and yeah, just take it easy out there. It's not the end of the world. There's a lot of people who expect Bitcoin to be at like 300,000, 400,000, whatever at this point, and they're disappointed. And I think instead of lamenting at the state of the market or Bitcoin itself, maybe exhibit some introspection and say, hey, maybe my expectations were a bit out of whack. And hey, you're talking to somebody who I would have not I would not have been surprised if we were at 250, 300,000 at this point if you were talking to me last year. Hand up, I was like, super cycle might be in play. And who knows? It might still be in play. Maybe it's all just one big super cycle, but just because it hasn't met your expectations doesn't mean that good things aren't happening. And very good things are happening, both on the brand awareness side and the infrastructure side. Again, these second layer advancements over the last 2 years, I think, are woefully underappreciated, not only by the broader market is completely unaware of them, but even by Bitcoiners. They don't really appreciate what's happening behind the scenes. I think Lightning emerging as this interconnective tissue between these other interoperable protocols built on top of Bitcoin is going to be massive.
Yeah, it's huge. And I mean, you listed off a bunch of just kind of incredible, like, structural things there that I think I've almost, like, the fact that any one of these things, and I have not been in Bitcoin as long as you, obviously, but like even thinking back to like 2020, 2021, depths of the bear market, 2022, even like not so long ago, any one of these developments would have been like just so massive there, like seen as this massive catalyst. And now it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, like 4 million merchants, like, okay, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
Like Vanguard, $11 trillion in assets under management, just opened up, just bent the knee, basically. Oh, okay. Like the stodgy old Bank of America, 1 to 4% allocation recommendation. Like, okay, whatever. It's like, these are all massive things. Like, and this is the thing right now. You mentioned the retail piece, which is fascinating to me because I think you're absolutely right that's like, we have not seen this retail wave, right? Just interest in Bitcoin from the quote retail perspective is not there right now. And it's like, man, the bummer is, and this is why Bitcoin education, and this is why we need more Bitcoin podcasts out there, of course, is because like this is the time when our fellow plebs should be doing whatever they can to stack. Like in these doldrums, in these kind of, crabs, sideways, chop solidation periods, this is when you should be stacking. But sadly, it's like the memes are very true. It's like nobody lines up for Bitcoin when it's, 90,000. They line up for it when it's at 200,000 or, 5, like, but it's just like, man, humans, we are victims of our own nature very often, it seems.
Yeah. And there's like another social aspect that's may sound spicy to some, but there's too many, I don't want to say too many people, but I would caution anybody out there who makes Bitcoin their whole personality. Like, you got to touch grass. You got to, like we talked about, like focus on family and stuff like that. Like and maybe I'm being a bit hypocritical. Obviously, my whole business, my whole professional career is revolves around Bitcoin. You too, Walker. But like even so, like I try to make it a point to like, hey, Bitcoin is one of the biggest things going on in humanity right now, but there are other important things, and I'm not going to live and die by the intraday candle of the Bitcoin chart and let that sort of dictate how I operate. Even though I am human, it does affect it. Sometimes, like, obviously, it's funny too. It's this paradox because you hate it when the price is dumping, but you hate it even more when the price is pumping too, because you're like, oh god, I don't have enough Bitcoin. So I think that's the mentality. Anybody out there is pissed off is just remember try to put yourself in future use shoes as the price is ripping, 50,000 candles, $50,000 weekly candles, and you're like, oh shit, I don't have enough Bitcoin. Like, to your point, like, treat this as a blessing that you're able to accumulate. But I am incredibly, incredibly bullish right now. Does that mean the price is going to go up next week or a month from now? I have no idea. But I know that the fundamentals are incredible. Like, we're streaming. I'm watching the Nostr live chat come up. I can see you messaging the audience as we're talking here. But like, this is what I think is going to be the Twitch competitor. Like, you have 28,996 sats that have been zapped to your wallet directly. And like, once going back to streaming culture, once they realize like, oh, I don't have to wait for Twitch and Stripe to pay me out twice a month or whatever it may be. Like, I literally have this money now. I can go spend it to whatever. That is a profound step function improvement on that particular use case. And most of the world just doesn't realize it yet. Like, it's there, it works. It's objectively, it is better. And this is just this one use case. You can apply it to anything. I have a lot of contractors at TFTC. They're younger. They like to get paid quickly, and many of them get paid in Bitcoin, and they love that they can send me an invoice, and I try to be timely with it and pay it immediately instead of waiting for a wire to go through or waiting for payroll to go through. They are able to get paid immediately. That is objectively better than the fiat system. And that's, I think, probably the overarching lesson here is just whenever you get down and you're a little pissed off that the price isn't where it is, just remind yourself, like, this thing is literally, quite literally, objectively better in every aspect than everything else. And it is fortunate that you have recognized that before most of the world.
It's literally magic internet money. Like, it really, like, every time you use it, you're just like, Bob, this is incredible. And then every time you need to use the fiat system, it's like, God, this is just really clunky, isn't it? Like, it's amazing. But, like, goes back to the old cliche, the future is here. It's just not evenly distributed yet. And I think about that a lot, because it's like, you even see amongst Bitcoiners, you look at the different development that happens in different parts of the world. You look at the way that Bitcoin is adopted in Africa or in Latin America versus the way that it's typically adopted most in the most like average way in the U.S. Like, they're different. They're different forms of adoption, right? And they're progressing on different timescales. And I think that's beautiful. But Marty, I want to be conscious of your time here, because I know we're running up on the end of the scheduled time. Maybe last thing I would just ask you is actually, maybe I won't even make it an ask. We'll just say that I think it's something we should bring up, which is the Samurai devs. And just that people, I know you guys made a call for this. I've made a couple calls for this as well, but people should go and sign that petition. I think it's billandkeon.org. Right? Let me make sure.
KeonandBill.org, I think.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. I think there we go. But yeah, this is wild to me. I mean, I really hope that somebody
you're right. It's Bill and Keon. Or
let me see. Let me see if I can pull it up. Yep.
Yeah, billandkeon.org. You're right.
Yeah, I'll drop it. I'll drop it in the chat for folks on Nostr, and I would just ask to, like, go ahead and go sign this petition, like, and tag if anybody happens to know any members of the Trump administration, like, man, try to get somebody's ear, or at least tag them a bunch on social media, because, like, this has set such a destructive precedent for me, like, and just. It's like, how can we be the quote Bitcoin and quote crypto capital of the world if we're prosecuting developers in this way, like with these archaic money transmitter laws? Like, it's just insane to me.
It really is. And it would be a terrible precedent. I think this is very important that you brought it up too, because it highlights, like, hey, a lot of what we talked about earlier is very right-wing coded, if you will. But here's an example of an opportunity to call balls and strikes. It's like, hey, Trump, you sent out the Blanche memo, and then your Department of Justice is ganging up on all these open source software developers, two of which are about to report to prison for 5 years and live in a cage away from their families. This is not okay. Like, this is the type of fascism. I don't want to say any fascism. This is like fascist this is fascist action that should not be taken, and this is not good. It's not okay. So, like, holding authority, particularly right-wing conservatives who have power right now, to account. It's like, this is like holding them accountable for this is extremely important. Like, hey, I may agree with what you guys are doing from an immigration perspective and trying to make sure we're saving the country and making sure that we're not wasting any money and letting in people who are going to be a net negative on the economy. However, like, this thing that you're doing, like, you're not following up on that, and it's, to your point, a terrible precedent that will make it so that the United States is not the Bitcoin capital of the world if you can't have software developers writing code that makes it easier to use Bitcoin in a non-custodial fashion.
Yeah, no, amen to that. And again, I would encourage people, like, go take a couple minutes and share this out on either centralized or decentralized social media. Like, this is one of the beautiful things about having these incredible tools for communication at our fingertips. Like, you can get a small message out there to a lot of people, and it can become a very big message, but it requires people to actually take action. Like, you can make a difference, though. And this is certainly, like, I don't think any of us want to see two guys who built awesome privacy tools in Bitcoin going to jail. And there's a bunch of other cases now that people should pay attention to too, whether it's Tornado Cash or Bitcoin Fog or Ian Freeman. Like, all of these, like, Bill and Keone is just the one that has some very immediate, like, timeline restrictions. And it's
and I'm looking
whatever
at it
you
now.
can do to spread the message.
I'm looking at it now. The petition only has 3,487 signatures. It's not enough. I thought there would be more. You got to pump that number. That number needs to go up.
That's wild to me. Like, if you give a shit about Bitcoin and the future in which you can use Bitcoin in a privacy preserving way, this is something that you should deeply care about, and you should definitely care about these guys not being thrown in a cage, taken away from their families for 5 years, forced to pay massive fines. Like, when this can be fixed with a simple presidential pardon, and like, Trump's pardoning plenty of people already. Like, you'd think this should be top of his list if he really wants to put his money where his mouth is.
Yeah. It's
Marty. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's incredibly important. Like, it is a great shame that it's gotten to this point. But no, I was gonna say, like, and if you look at some of the people that Trump has pardoned in recent weeks, it's like this should be an easy layup considering some of the objective scammers that he's pardoned.
Yeah, exactly. Should be. One would hope this would be a no-brainer. Maybe it just hasn't gotten to his desk yet, but I hope somebody puts it in front of him. And until then, continue making noise out there. Where do you want to send people, Marty?
Just find me on X and primal.net/Marty Bent, X at Marty Bent, and you'll find all my stuff there.
Beautiful. Well, dude, glad we got a chance to do this. Appreciate you sharing your time. And looking forward to doing it again, perhaps in person at some point. That would be fun. We can do it over a couple of beers. That would be ideal.
That would be great. Thank you, Walker.
All right. Cheers, dude.
See ya.
And that's a wrap on this Bitcoin Talk episode of the Bitcoin Podcast. Remember to subscribe to this podcast wherever you're watching or listening, and share it with your friends, family, and strangers on the internet. Find me on Nostr at primal.net/Walker and this podcast at primal.net/Titcoin. On X, YouTube, and Rumble, just search at Walker America. And find this podcast on X and Instagram at Titcoin Podcast. Head to the show notes to grab sponsor links. Head to substack.com/@WalkerAmerica to get episodes emailed to you. And head to bitcoinpodcast.net for everything else. Bitcoin is scarce, but podcasts are abundant. So thank you for spending your scarce time listening to the Bitcoin Podcast. Until next time, stay free.